Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Center for Media of Innovation at Point Park University. I'm Nicole Kapalko.
And I'm Colton DeBiase, and we welcome you to tonight's town hall for the candidates running for Pennsylvania's 12th Congressional District. This district covers downtown Pittsburgh and some surrounding areas which are new due to redistricting a few weeks ago, which include the Mon Valley and some parts of Westmoreland County.
We will have 5 Democrats participating tonight in our event, each seeking to win the primary on May 17th and then move on to the general election in November. That race will determine who will take over the Democratic spot that Mike Doyle had since 1995. We invited the only registered Republican to join us, whose name is also Mike Doyle, and he did not respond. So now let's take a moment and meet the candidates.
So we are going to get started with candidate number 1, and the first 2 candidates are the 2 gentlemen that are joining us in person at the Center for Media Innovation. So our first candidate holds 2 degrees from Point Park, actually, a Master of Business Administration and a Master's of Science and Criminology. He has been involved in politics since his early days as a high school student and has been the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania College Access Program for 22 years, which encourages low-income high school students to attend college. Everybody, please give a warm round of applause for Jeff Woodard.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Next up, we have a Garfield activist who grew up on the north side and ran for Pittsburgh mayor in 2021. Everyone, please give it up for William Parker.
And now we are going to go to the 3 candidates that have joined us through Zoom tonight. So this man already has experience in Washington as a legislative assistant to former Pennsylvania Senator Arlen Specter. As a lawyer, he has received endorsements from incumbent Congressman Mike Doyle and former Mayor of Pittsburgh Bill Peduto. As mentioned, he could not join us in Pittsburgh tonight, but please welcome Steve Irwin, who is joining us from Philadelphia.
For our next candidate, he is a constitutional law professor at the University of Pittsburgh looking to serve the Constitution in Washington. He is also running for a seat for the second time. He ran unsuccessfully against Congressman Doyle in the Democratic primaries in 2020. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Jerry Dickinson.
And finally, our last candidate is the state representative from Braddock. In her bid to serve in Congress, she has received support from Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, as well as Pittsburgh Mayor Ed Gainey. She cannot make it to the CMI tonight, but we are glad she is joining us from Harrisburg, where the legislature is in session. Please give a warm round of applause for Summer Lee.
Just to go over some rules for tonight, just as a reminder to everyone, this event is being co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania. So let's go over the rules for our audience and our candidates. For our audience members, we ask that you not applaud or make any noise or gestures at any point during this event. There will be a time at the conclusion of the town hall for applause.
And candidates, here are the rules for tonight's town hall. We will have a 75-minute discussion on where you all stand from a variety of federal topics facing the United States today. We will start in the order chosen by random earlier this evening. Then we will rotate through the order on who will answer the next question first. You will have 60 seconds to respond, and if you need a refresher on how much time you have, there is a clock right in front of you over in the back there on that television. When one candidate is speaking, we do ask the other candidates to be respectful and not interrupt with their responses. You are allowed rebuttals and to respond to another candidate when it is your turn, but it must be during the 60-second response. We will allow extra time unless you are finishing a sentence at the end of your turn, and we will give you a 10-second warning for each question, and we will also have final statements, 2 minutes each, which will begin at 7:55. That is when all the questions will stop. So, are we all ready to go?
Moving on to the next question is something that has affected us all tremendously: inflation. Prices for everything seem to be going up. Point Park University's student newspaper, The Globe, recently ran a story about commuter students choosing between paying for gasoline and making other spending choices. The university also runs a free pantry for students who cannot afford to purchase food. What steps, if any, do you believe the federal government should take to address inflation? Starting off with Ms. Summer Lee.
The federal government must address the fact that we have not raised the wage since 2007, right? Pennsylvania is still stagnant at $7.25 an hour as the minimum wage. The minimum wage was never supposed to be unlivable, right? It's supposed to be the baseline for workers to have the basic needs that they need, their basic needs met, right? Housing, food, transportation. That's not the case right now. But as corporations make record profits right now, we're just transferring those costs onto everyday consumers. We're transferring those to the most marginalized populations and communities and our workers who are overworked and are not working less. They are working more hours and getting less out of them. So I think that as we talk about inflation, it's important to talk about who is really profiting and who is benefiting and who's being left behind. We absolutely can have a living wage, which right now we're well past a fight for 15. We need a living wage, and we also need unions for all.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Woodard.
Number one topic also with me dealing with them. I believe right now with Pennsylvania still setting that $7.25 an hour, as she stated, is something that we have to raise up to $15 an hour. And again, that is something that's going to help the young people in paying for their education and for living. I come from a family of 21 children, 11 girls, 10 boys. Imagine my family if my mom and dad had to live off of $7.25 an hour to raise all 21 of us. So yes, this is something that I believe that the federal government should step in and take handle of and work on.
Mr. Parker, same to you.
You know, there's a lot of people out here that like to take advantage of others, and this is the situation that we're in with this inflation. You know, we have other foreign countries who are at war, and this is what happens when there's a war. The prices run up, gas price gouging at our grocery stores, inflation, the cost. This is where the people who prey on a little guy come in. This is where they make their money, and we need someone like myself who will step up to them and say, enough is enough. So basically, I think that we can also put a better track on it, use some type of tech to track who's really profiting from this inflation the most, so we could let the people know and try to curve them from profiting
Mr. Parker,
the most.
you have 10 seconds.
And also, with this last 10 seconds, I would like Summer Lee, Steve Irwin, and Jerry Dickinson to at least retweet this form right here on their social networks. They didn't show up, and they didn't even allow their customers, they didn't even allow their fans to know
Mr.
about
Parker,
this
you
event.
are, my apologies for the interruption, but you're out of time.
I know. I'm going to run over sometimes. I need to let y'all know that.
Next, moving on to Mr. Irwin.
So clearly inflation is choking us, and in our food prices, at the gas pump, in our rentals, and our rents, our housing, and it's got to change. I have experience. I was one of the chief regulators in the United States for securities, and I know the financial structure. There are many tools that we have in Washington to keep interest rates low that will help prevent inflation from getting out of control. But we also need to start making things in this country so we can control supply chain, which will really help to keep prices down. We also need to make sure that our federal agencies that look out for price gouging will do all they can to stop that kind of thing, as Mr. Parker pointed out. So clearly inflation is a problem. We have geopolitical issues that are going on that are affecting it. It's going to get worse. We have to increase wages, and we have to make sure we keep inflation in check.
And lastly, Mr. Dickinson.
Yes, inflation right now is a major issue. It's affecting everyone in the United States and across the world, in large part due to geopolitical issues regarding Russia and Ukraine. And this is an issue that hits close to home. My wife and I, we have 2 daughters, and we are just getting by, right? We have to figure out how we're going to pay for increased prices on gas versus purchasing diapers for our daughters. And that's a squeeze that a lot of Americans are dealing with right now. So I feel it. Many people feel it. There's a number of things that can be done right now. The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, can use some of its power to actually use new forms of energy to decrease the amount of gas and energy that's being used now that is gouging a lot of Americans at the gas pump. That's very important. Executive orders to provide for more subsidies for Americans who are struggling just to get by with their payments. Rent reduction is also very important because rising rents are part of that inflation. And then food. Simple access to grocery that's affordable is a problem. We need
Mr.
to
Dickinson,
have
please complete your sentence.
subsidies that are available through the federal government to help families get by during this very difficult time period.
And that concludes our program for tonight.
And we cannot go without thanking our entire crew for helping us out here tonight, including our staff behind the scenes that has worked so hard trying to get this event together for the past 2 months, including Nicholas Konopka, Alexis Bonifate, Frank Smith, Noah Marshalek, and also our professor and our director, Dr. Andy Conti.
We would also like to thank our friends at the League of Women Voters for all their help guiding us through this experience. We truly could not have done it without you guys. A big thanks to Judy Clack and Maureen Gosider.
And we cannot thank our CMI production crew of Olivia Vallow, Wayne Gaines, Tanner Knapp, Casey Houlihan, Tara Myers, and everybody that we missed. We've been working hard around 11 o'clock this morning trying to get this event together, so we cannot thank you all enough.
Thank you to the candidates and the campaigns for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it, and good luck in your campaigns.